Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Cousin
Connection
Podcast.
We're back.
I didn't know you were going to do that.
We missed you guys, even though we've only actually been gone for a week. Technically.
Yeah, technically. But it feels like we've been gone forever.
Yeah.
Like, we literally landed yesterday. And that might seem like, okay, it's enough time to recover. But, like, if you guys saw, like, what happened to us after we came back, you'd be showing some sympathy because, like, our systems did not like adjusting back to this climate, weather, whatever. Systems were all jumbled up, but we felt like it wouldn't be right to not put out a podcast this weekend, at least to give you guys an update on like what we did, what's been going on, where we've been. Well, you already know where we've been, but what we've done since we've been there, because the first podcast we put out, or not the first podcast, but the one we put out a couple weeks ago,
2 weeks
was
ago,
like, it was like our only first or second day experience in Ethiopia, which is where we were.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's so much that has happened. Like, it feels like it was more than, even though we were only there for 2 weeks, it feels like we were there for a lot longer, just due to the fact that like we were constantly on the move. Like, that's the one thing. Every time, if you ever go to Africa and you have that much family there, 2 weeks is definitely not enough time.
No way.
To do everything in a more comfortable manner.
Yeah.
Like, it's less of a vacation and more of just like a, like, catch up with, I don't know. It did it feel like a vacation?
No, because I feel like I need another vacation from that vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Even though we did do some like vacation like stuff.
Yeah.
But it was so rushed that you didn't have time to kind of sit down and relax. And we'll get into it. So let's get into it then.
Okay.
So where we left off at last time was we were like racing the streets of Dreda with our cousins there.
Oh yeah, that was that day.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
and like,
oh my god, that feels like so long ago.
I know, right? I know
all the things that have happened after that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe the next day is when we went to Harar, which is our original homeland, like our original city. Is that I think that's how it worked.
Well, my dad's from there. My mom's not. Oh, okay. My mom. Let's clarify. Okay.
All our families are from there somewhat, like originally, yeah.
Technically, obviously some of our parents' generation, like they grew up in like Addis or Deredoa or
Nazareth.
Nazareth, like any other city. But our grandparents and great grandparents, a lot of them originated from Harar, which is how we're Harari.
Yeah. So that was the next place we went to, and Harar is like a really special spot. Even in like the Islam itself, it's given the moniker of like I think it's
fourth holiest city.
Yeah, the fourth holiest city, or the city of walis, or saints, city of saints, city of saints.
Scholars. Yeah, saints.
Because of the like hundreds of saints who were there in its history and are buried there currently. So it's not only the fact that we went there for family, but it has like a very
a rich culture,
spiritual connection that we have to it. But yeah, we went to Harar. We walked the streets of Harar, got to meet family and friends there. We definitely had like an interesting experience. I feel like anyone who's gone to Harar can't go to Harar without doing the Hyena experience or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll have video of that, but we'll put it up. But essentially, like, you go out at nighttime, you go out of the city, and there's a guy there who will essentially sit you down, and there's like there's dozens of hyenas around you.
Side note, the guy that we saw? Yeah. That's the main guy's son.
Yeah, yeah.
So like you'll see in our experience, like in our video, we had a very different experience.
Exactly. Like,
I don't remember it being like that.
That's what I was gonna get into. Like, the guy sits you down, and before it used to be like you would just sit down there and the hyenas would kind of like go around you, but mainly they wouldn't touch you or anything. They would kind of just like get really close to you, and that was like the cool experience back then. But now, like, the hyenas are jumping on your back. They're like they're fighting in front of you, and some of them are like putting their legs on my legs.
One of them stepped on me and I was wearing sandals. I was like, ow,
exactly.
You're heavy,
like, they're getting awfully close now.
Yeah.
Which actually I thought it was cooler. Like, I wasn't scared at all.
You know what?
I didn't have any fear there.
At all?
Like, there's a couple times where he kept telling me, make sure to wash your hands. I was like, oh, what are they going to do to my hands if I, like, don't put them... Exactly. So, for the first few seconds, I don't know if I had the video of it, but, like, I was, like, trying to figure out where to put my hands. And then after that was just, like, getting the hyenas to, like, when he puts a stick in your mouth, and the stick is, like, maybe just, like, 6 inches long or so.
It's, like, maybe, like, that big.
Yeah, and he puts a piece of meat on it, and then a hyena will come and, like, bite it right close next to your face, to the point where I think the hyena actually hit me in the face on accident. Yeah, because when I touched my like my quote unquote beard afterwards, this little scruff of hair, like it felt a little wet. I was like, damn, did they touch my face that close? I didn't realize it at first, but it was wet. Yeah.
Oh my god, no, I'm scared. Were you scared?
You did it.
No, but okay.
Yeah.
Leading up to the hyenas, we had fatira first, right? I feel like your dad, he buttered us up.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In the spot. Everyone knows about this one. Yeah.
Right outside of Jogol, like where that roundabout is.
Isn't it Faras Magala?
No, that's not Faras Magala. Faras Magala is where when we parked our car, where we first got there with the eagles and stuff, beside the meat shop.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what that little roundabout area is, but anyways, those who know.
I'm pretty sure that roundabout area is Faras Magala, no?
No.
Okay. Oh,
correct us.
Whoever's listening to this, you'd be like, how could you guys not know you were literally there?
No, I'm pretty sure that area that I'm talking about, it's like right outside of the Amir Abdullahi.
What? Okay.
Right outside of the
Amir Abdullahi hall, yeah.
Or whatever you want to call it. There's that one famous fatira spot, and we went with like my cousin, my niece, you guys, and Amir's dad, and I feel like we really got buttered up because we were enjoying that fatira so much. And then we were like, all right, let's go feed some hyenas. And I actually wasn't scared at that point because I remember doing it before, and it was like, all right, the scariest part was feeding it with the stick.
Yeah.
Until we got there, and first of all, these hyenas looked like they were just running around like it was no big deal. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, like it was very different than what I remembered.
Yeah.
For sure. But it was still fun. Like I still had fun doing it.
So we made Amir's dad go first because all of us were terrified at this point.
Well, speak for yourself.
I feel like you were scared because why did you go first then?
Because it was so quick. Like he literally just got up and went out. I would have done it first, okay?
So as soon as your dad sat down and the way the hyenas like swarmed him and when it like jumped onto his back, I was like, yeah, that's enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm waiting in the car.
And I guess we should probably give some context to it because like people are like, you guys were literally playing with hyenas. So Harar actually has like a rich history with hyenas to the point where we were able to domesticate them in a way.
I wish Hassan was here.
I know, so he can give this like more of a breakdown.
I mean, I know we both. Yeah. Well, Hassan, you don't have a choice.
Exactly. We're gonna get him one day to come on here and speak some history to actually like give us some true facts or proper facts.
We both know this story, but you could give like a Spark Notes version for now.
But like, so essentially, over the years, hyenas were domesticated in the city, and Harar itself is surrounded by like the city center, which we call Jogol. Which I don't know. I don't think that's the original name, but that's just what we classically call it at this point.
It's like the walled city.
Yeah, the walled city, and it has 5 gates on it. But they also created these little holes inside of the walls. Do you remember what they were called? Essentially, I forget what they're called now. Was that the name?
I'm making that up. I don't know.
I'm going with that.
Literally translates to hyena hole.
Yeah. So they made those holes so that in the night, the hyenas will actually go through these holes in the wall and they will scour the city through the night, and like people will leave meat out for them. And I believe there's someone who told a story where
there was a treaty, right? There was a treaty between one of the emirs of Harar and the king of the hyenas or whatever they're called, the head, because there was a time where the attacks increased on the people of the city.
Okay, so you know more of history than
a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want Hassan to come for me like, actually, you got it wrong. But I'm pretty sure there was a treaty in place. And I don't know if it's weddings, but it's ashura.
Oh, is that ashura? Okay.
They would prepare the ashur, which is like a porridge type of meal that had meat in it, and they would prepare it for the hyenas. There are photos online, which I'm sure we'll be able to like put up here.
Hopefully.
So yeah, I've seen them before.
Okay, you have. Okay, perfect.
And the king of the hyenas, or the leader is usually like has a lighter fur. I remember Bakala was telling us she saw a white hyena. Yeah, like it's like a lighter fur. It's very distinct on who it is. But he usually goes first to taste it, and if it's good, then the rest of them will eat too. So it's pretty interesting. But
yeah, and this was developed over thousands of years in the city. Like this is a very old.
Is it
city.
Thousands or hundreds? I don't know.
Well, the city is over 1,000 years old.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I don't know if I can say thousands, but like if it's over just 1,000 or something. But it's been a long time essentially.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, you know, when I was first of all, by the time this episode is out, I don't think you guys would have seen it, but I don't know if you've been following like Hassan's Instagram posts. Yeah. They've been so informative. But plus that day that we went to the Adagar, you know, when those two women were telling us about the different.
Oh yeah.
Like it just made me realize how intertwined our culture is with our faith and all the different like the reasons behind literally like the architecture of the homes or like different things.
So we can get into that one too. So we went to, they have like a museum now where they've kind of made a house. I believe this is actually the original house of the Emir. Was it the original house of the Emir? No.
Yeah. No.
Or maybe like, it was one of them.
Yeah. Every time it was like there was an Emir. Emir just stands for king.
Yeah.
So the king of Harar. They would stay in this one house. Yeah. And then it was converted into like a museum for a cultural museum. And
in this room, like they have everything displayed in something called, and it has a room called the Nadabagar, which is
actually it's the whole thing is called Gaygar.
Okay, yeah, the whole thing is called Gaygar, and in the Gaygar is the first room you kind of walk into has a nadaba, which has like
5 nadabas, right?
I believe
there's
so.
The top one, the side one, the other one. There's 4, and then there's one on the side, so it's 5. Yeah.
And these are just like different layers where people will sit depending on their rank, depending on who they are, what place they have in the family. I don't want to go into too much detail because I'm going to make myself sound dumb, more dumb than I already sound. But that was also a cool experience. And there was someone there who kind of explained it all to us. And that was really interesting. Like I kind of knew some of this information already. Of course, right now I'm not really showing that. But like it was interesting getting it from someone who's studied it and has it like perfectly. They can say it in a way that it sinks in a lot deeper than just reading off of a book, or actually when you're seeing it in person, it's a lot better. And I really like that experience as well.
What was like one thing that you learned that day that stood out to you that you were like, wow, that's amazing?
Wow, that's amazing. I think also the way that they did you mention there's that part where like they have these weapons, the spears, and like depending on, and I think even Hassan posted about it, where depending on the orientation of the spears means whether they're in a time of war or a time of peace. So if the spears are facing up in their vertical position, it means that they're in a time of war. And it was cool when she said that, like the way that the Dabagar or the house is set up is that the Amir can actually literally take his horse into the building, into the house, grab the spear off the shelf that it's made for it, and the shield or whatever that's there, and then ride out with the horse.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the things.
Yeah, that was like, interesting.
This house was made to fit a horse? Well, I didn't know that. And it makes sense because the ceilings are so high.
Yeah. Actually, there was a lot more. Like, there's also how they have, like, an organizational system for, like, the different things that need to be organized in the house, like whether it's money.
Oh, what is it
see,
called
like
again?
I can't remember the names now.
Hold up, we got Google for a reason, okay?
Yeah, but there's essentially these pots that are set up. There's 4 of them that are set up in the house, and each one like kind of accounts for something different in the house. Like one of them accounts for, I believe it's the money. One of them accounts for the documents that they might need, and then there's a couple other ones there. We're definitely gonna have like someone out here to give us a lot more details on it.
Hassan,
but
where are you when we need you?
Exactly. But it was interesting because like a lot of it was, like you mentioned, inspired by the Deen, and it was kind of cool because these pots had like covers on them, and people were very like they had like a shyness to them, and they didn't like to say things outright. But If there was a man, like there's a cover on the one that has the money. And if there was a man in the house, the cover would be upright. It would be put in the proper position. But if the man of the house was no longer there, like maybe something happened to him, he passed away, they would actually flip the cover over. And the reason they did that is to signify that they may be in need of like finances or be in need of help in some way. And if someone saw that, if someone came into the house and saw that, they might like secretly hide some money for them or something under like the carpet just to kind of help them out. And that was like interesting because no one would outright say, okay, I need money or I need help.
Exactly.
They would kind of show it through like symbols of like that cover, like symbolizing that they actually needed help without saying it outright. Exactly. And that was really interesting. And also the funny thing was like above the door when you enter the house, there's these like arms that come out.
They look like wooden forks.
Yeah.
And they're like right above the door. There's usually an odd number.
Yeah, there's an odd number of them on the top.
Do you remember why?
Huh?
Do you remember why?
I can't remember why, but there was an odd number of them. And but I think she mentioned that like they look like hands that were upright, maybe due to like
I remember. No. It's actually because she said that the reason why they look like forks is because it's supposed to remind us that those of us that are always chasing I guess dunya matters, if you want to think of it in that way. There's always stuff seeping through, meaning don't always be so focused on chasing the dunya, work towards your akhirah.
Okay.
I don't remember why there was an odd number.
Yeah.
But she was also relating that to the number of stairs that goes up to the qala.
Yeah.
There's also an odd number for that too, but I don't remember.
No, wasn't it 8 steps?
No, she said it's... Oh, yeah. Okay. That I remember. The steps that go upstairs, it's 7 or 8 or 8 because she was basically saying it's supposed to remind you of the 7 skies or the 7 heavens.
Yeah. So everything in the house has like a religious purpose or like a religious meaning behind it.
Did you know?
Or sometimes like inspired by some religious meaning behind it.
There are 5 nadabas in the gay god to remind you of your 5 prayers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Isn't
That's
that
what
cool?
it came down to.
And even like another fun fact is if you notice, and like if for those of you that are interested in Harari culture, if you've ever Googled like a traditional Harari house, the nadabas, which are like they're like platformed seating areas, they're painted red, and the red is to signify the blood from the 700 martyrs, the newlyweds for the Chalanko war.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like, it's all like very intertwined, and I just remember that day like listening to the guides, like basically just being mind blown. And then what I actually learned recently from Hassan's post, the shape of the qital, the aruz qital.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what? I had no idea. Like that's so crazy.
It's supposed to be shaped to like kind of look like the I think it's Bismillah or something like that.
Yeah. Basically to signify that you're starting in the name of God, which is like wow. Like who I thought he would have had the post up. I'm literally on Hassan's page now to see if I can.
Oh yeah, it's right there. Screenshot that right now. But
I wish he had the other ones to remember what are they called?
But going back to those like forks coming out.
Yeah.
The funny part that I found was that like, if there's like a daughter in the house who's ready to be married, then they put a carpet up there. And the carpet is to symbolize like if a guy comes into the house without outright asking, he'll look up above the door and he'll see that there's a carpet there, so he knows that there's a daughter who's ready for marriage, and he might ask the parents. And then like on those stairs that you mentioned at the top, there's kind of like a grid cover. It's like it
looks like a
like those basket covers. Basically you can still see through it. It looks like a fence.
Crisscross like that. It's like a fence, so you can see through it, but you can't really see.
Yeah, the person looking to it can't really see through it, and that's because if like the daughter is up there while the potential suitor is in the house, they can kind of like see them and judge whether or not they want to be with them or not. And that was kind of funny.
Because I mean, I guess back in the day, people didn't really like date like that. You know what I mean? So maybe sometimes, let's just use Amir as an example. If Amir was walking down the streets of Harar, he sees someone, and the city's so small that everyone knows everyone. So let's just say he notices someone. He's like, okay, yeah, she looks nice. Like maybe we should get to know each other. So what he would do is he would go to her parents' house, and when you go to the main room, he would sit down on the nadava, and right above the doors would be the little fork looking things. And if there's 1, 2, 3 carpets, let's say there's one carpet, he's just gonna hope and pray that it's that one girl. Like, let's say they have more than one daughter and they have 3 daughters, 3 carpets. He knows that all of them are available for marriage, and so he can go back to his parents now and be like, "Oh, mom, dad, can you go ask so and so's parents, like, for their hand or whatever?" And that's pretty much how it works. So it's kind of cool.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting too, like how everything is like kind of like there's a not a I don't know what the word is. I want to say shyness to it. But there's a...
Harari people are very... Like, the culture is very modest, I think.
Yeah, very modest thing to it. Like, there's nothing that's kind of said outright or overtly. Everything's kind of, like, hinted at. And you kind of use these little hints in the house to kind of figure out what the situation is with the family in any aspect.
Remember this thing?
Which one's that one? Oh, that?
Little, like, the little pockets in the wall. Do you remember what that was for?
No, I don't. There was a couple points where I kind of zoned out, but...
I was, like, hyper-focused, like, listening to it all. But did you know? So we'll have another photo of it. I think I took some photos I'll send to you. So there's 2 main, like, they're like... What do you call them? Indents?
Yeah, there's, like...
They're like
shelves in the wall.
Yeah, they're kind of
but
like
they're built into the wall.
Yeah, and so there are 2 main ones. That's supposed to signify the mother and the father, and then the smaller ones are for the children. What?
Oh no, I was gonna say speaking to the mic.
Oh, sorry.
You got so far away, like got quiet there.
Oh, my bad. I hope you guys heard me, but I was saying that the 2 big ones are for the mother and the father, and there are smaller ones. Those are to signify the children.
Oh, really? But how about if they have more children and do they make more holes?
I believe there was 5 also in relation to the prayers too, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Maybe. But yeah, that I want to get away from. There's so many visualizations here. I feel bad for the people who are listening because I'm not really bad at explaining it. But
maybe they'll Google it.
Yeah, that was a very interesting. What we wanted to get at is that was a very interesting part of the trip there. Even though we only spent how much, like
2 days,
2 days in Harar in total, which was definitely not enough time, especially for it being our hometown. We spent more time in like other places. I feel like we could have spent more time there to kind of really take it in and explore more of the city.
Leaving Harar was so difficult for me.
Oh yeah, for you was it?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were such a softie.
You didn't know that?
A little bit, but like
I am like the worst with goodbyes, but it's like something about leaving, like coming and leaving Ethiopia is very different because one, it's not like around the corner. It's so far away.
Exactly.
We don't have the luxury of going all the time. So it's like just knowing that this could potentially be the last time that you see your family. And I spent a lot of time there as a kid. I spent 4 months there, which is like wild to me, but that's how I was able to develop such a strong bond with a lot of
the people there.
So every time I've gone back, it's like I try to soak it in as much as possible and enjoy my time with them without like the worst part about it is as soon as I got there, like I already knew in the back of my mind, like, okay, in 2 days, like I'm going to have to say bye to these people. And like, I don't want to get too attached. Like I try to like protect my own heart, but it's hard not to, you know what I mean? Like the hospitality of Harari people is so unmatched.
Yeah. And just not only that, but like just being in the city is nice. Like just how you can walk in between each other. Like we're literally neighbors.
Yeah. We are like where my grandfather's house was and where your grandfather's house was.
Yeah.
They're like literally like 2 minutes away.
Exactly. It's just interesting. Like that's why you realize like whenever you know how like all the parents kind of know each other when they're going, it's because like they literally lived all like right next to each other. When my dad would be like, yeah, you know this person, you know, in Toronto, they lived right there, like right next door.
You know what's crazy? I posted a photo of like the main, like right outside of my Baba's house, and I had a couple people like, hey neighbor, like my grandfather lives
really
there. I was like, no way, like we should all just move back here and like, you know.
No, I definitely like in the future I was even saying this on the trip, like I want to be able to come here for longer periods of time.
Same, me too.
Or find a way to do it, like I don't know if it requires a different kind of job or something, but I just feel like I really want to just go back there and really experience it for a longer period of time. And maybe even do something to help develop it and grow the city, because there are still like we talk about all the good things, but there's still a lot of like issues that are going on in the city that need to be worked on. I think the saddest part was like, well, it's not, yeah, I guess it's sort of sad, but like, remember when we were, the same day when we were going to museum, we went onto like the top, they have this like this view area where you can kind of see the whole city.
Yeah.
And then like, I think it was my dad pointed out, there's a part of the city they call diaspora. Like they literally just call it diaspora because it's essentially a large neighborhood of really nice houses, like super like modern houses. The neighborhood looks really, really nice even from afar. And the reason they call it diaspora is because a lot of people who live outside of the country, who have moved away from the city, built houses there so they can come back and live there after they retire, or maybe even just so
they had a place to stay when they come to visit.
Exactly, when they come back to visit. But because of like political reasons and tribal reasons, it was taken over by, or not taken over, but it was kind of
it's like blocked off
by some people in the Oromo tribe. And essentially they said that if you want to come and live in these places, we'll kill you, or like essentially we'll hurt you to that extent, and now they can't even go into that land anymore because their lives are literally being threatened, and it's now just kind of wasting away. Even though these places look perfectly fine, they're fully developed, they're completely done.
That's very
sad.
But
no one can, and it's a nice neighborhood, and you see that a lot throughout the whole country.
There's so much conflict in Ethiopia. Like it's very sad to see, and
we'll get to that. Like I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like
oh, we getting into it like that?
I want to talk about it all because even though we did have good experiences, there was a lot of like, I think it was my dad, because my dad like really like being like. He loves Ethiopia. You know that. Like he spent literally 6 months out of the year there in Ethiopia. But he also sees a lot of he points out a lot of the flaws in the country and the things that need to be worked on. And he really makes sure that we know what those are.
I know. He's like, don't fall in love too quick.
Yeah, like you can't go on a drive with him throughout the city, especially in Addis, where he was like mainly our driver, my dad, without him pointing out like, okay, see this area, this is the problem with it now. This is what's going on politically or tribally or whatever in that area. But yeah, let's get back to Harar. So that was mainly our experience, right? Like we spent the day going out, visiting different historical sites, and that was like that was a good experience there. So what else do you want to say about Harar actually before we move on to the next one?
We talked about the hyenas. We talked about the culture. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know what else to add to it. Like,
well, like I guess one thing I actually wanted to finish off with is that like I don't know how I've always wondered like how long we will have the Harar that we know now. Because that's also a question. Like when I mentioned the diaspora area, that's like a part of a larger problem in the city.
Yeah,
where even though we're kind of indigenous to the area, it's slowly being kind of taken over by other people who are laying claim to the land. And it might, and thankfully, like a lot of the places are now being labeled as like historical sites, even by the country.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's a sign that it won't be touched. But I don't know like what the next administration will do or how long that will last for. So anyone who hasn't been to Harar and is Harari, I feel like even if you're not Harari, honestly, I feel like it's a really good place to visit currently in its state where it's kind of still how we remember it.
It's actually not.
Is it not?
I think that like I don't want to get too political.
Let's get political.
No, only because I don't have too much knowledge on it, so I don't want to say the wrong thing. But from what my first like experience as a conscious child, I guess, was so different. Like,
was it?
Yeah, it used to be a lot cleaner. There's a lot of like garbage and stuff. Like, to be honest with you,
that's a big issue with just Ethiopia in general. Like, people don't really care for. I
feel like they got lazy.
What do you
with
call
it
it when
now?
you throw garbage on the floor?
Littering.
Yeah, so people would literally just start throwing stuff on the floor.
Yeah.
Like instead of throwing in a garbage, like finding a garbage can is almost next to impossible.
Addis, I think, is doing a little better.
A little better, yeah, because they actually have like cleaners, but that's because it's the main city, right? And they know a lot of tourists are going to be there, so they really care for that more, right? Sarah, stop.
Listen, I'm blaming the jet lag, okay?
No. Okay.
But I think that Gaysinan was spoken a lot more like openly back then, like on the streets. I mean, it kind of sort of is now. It's a lot of people who even like they're not actually Harari still speak the language, like the older ones anyway. But I find that now kids amongst themselves either speak Amharic or they speak Oromo, like whichever one they're more comfortable with. They rarely ever speak Gaysinan to each other. And for those of you who don't know, when we say Gaysinan or Gaygar, Harar is also known as, like, the city is called Gay. Like that's how you say it in Gaysinan. Yeah. Gaysinan also means like the language of the city. Yeah. So yeah, I think that like Amir was saying, like if you haven't already gone, definitely try to go now before things. Hopefully this isn't the case, but before things get worse or before they change too much from how it originally was. But even like if you hear our parents talk about it, they'll be like, oh, like bad fizbit now, like it's so different now. You know what I mean? So definitely go while you can. Try and experience it once, no matter what your age is, and then we'll see what happens in the future.
One thing that I don't want to end on like a negative thing when it comes to the city, or just it's not only Harar, it's any city outside of Addis, and Addis has this problem a little bit too, but it's not as apparent as in the villages. But there's a huge drug problem in both Harar and Dredwa.
Listen, okay, they gonna come for you.
I don't care. Okay, like I feel like it's really affecting like the progress of these smaller cities, like Dredwa, Harar, the productivity of these places, and maybe the reason they stop caring about like the litter and the garbage around, because anyone who's East African knows about something called chat, which is like
African. I think Arabs know about it too.
Yeah, it's like a leaf. It essentially gives you like the same buzz as like caffeine would. If you had a lot of caffeine, it's the same kind of thing. But after 1 o'clock in any city, like Dredwa, Harar, any city outside of that, you're not going to find anyone on the streets, or like you're going to find people on the streets, but you're not going to find anyone doing anything productive, because they're most likely going to be doing something called barcha, which is like where you kind of just
barcha just means like, every time I try to explain it to someone who's not gay, so I'm like, you just like hang out.
Yeah, it's literally just people hanging out, chewing chat, drinking coke, and doing that for the rest of the night. Yeah. And that's every single day. Like people, to the point where people literally work to be able to do parcha.
But the thing is like chewing chat, I feel like it invokes a lot of creativity.
No. I don't care about chewing chat. I'm talking about the excessiveness of it.
That's the thing though. It's addictive. So you're going to do it. Like I think in the past it used to be like a lot of scholars, Islamic scholars would use it to be productive in terms of memorizing the Islamic knowledge. Yeah. Or if they're writing things in books and whatnot. Now I feel like people use it as a pastime, but they like have done it so.
Yeah, I'm talking about the culture that's been created around it. Oh, like not the chat itself. The chat itself, I have no problem with. I've done chat in my life one point. Yeah, just like I don't know, like at like Dora and stuff. You know, something like
Dora.
Yeah, it was a weird situation. Okay, but yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that offline.
Exactly. It's not the chat itself. It's the culture that was created around it. Yeah. In those places where it's almost stifled any. Like you say, it leads to creativity. I feel like it's stifled creativity and progressiveness, or not progressive, but like, progressiveness in the cities, to the point that they kind of lost the will to maintain the cities themselves.
I mean, I say,
or at least work towards making them better.
I say it promotes creativity, because you'll notice in these barcha sessions, like as people are chewing, and once they reach. How do you explain what Mercato means?
I don't know.
The high?
Yeah.
Once you reach that state, you'll notice that the conversation flows. Like people got ideas. They're talking big,
yeah, but
big
where do
ideas.
those conversations go?
The thing is that although it invokes creativity, it doesn't invoke productivity.
Exactly.
So they'll talk about all these things,
exactly,
but they ain't going. They're not going to do anything about
it. Exactly. The productivity is a huge issue. And like the fact that it affects everything. It affects like even you being able to go to the bank. It affects you being able to get something constructed. Like anything that requires work. Are you hungry?
No.
Oh, I just heard you say.
Okay, maybe. You heard that? I was trying to
They definitely heard it.
Shoot. I was trying to stop.
But what I was saying, but that just like really just like struck me as something like I was like, come on, guys. Like I understand every once in a while. Oh, are you getting hot?
No, you are.
I am getting hot. It's because I'm getting heated about this conversation.
I know.
That's
I could
why.
tell. Like
open the window real quick.
You passionate.
Okay. No, but I want to finish this thought and then we'll do that. Okay. So like that was the thing that really just annoyed me the whole time.
Yeah.
Because I'm a person like I'm very much like my dad in that I don't like sitting down and wasting time. And I felt like I was like, this is such a waste of time. Like if you're doing something during that budget that is maybe beneficial to your community and you're actually going to do something out something's going to come out of it, go ahead. Yeah. But when you're literally doing it every day and you're working and living to be able to do that and you're not supporting like family and doing, I'm not saying that all of them are doing, but like it's clear that it's kind of become an addiction for the whole country. And it's now a problem where it's affecting the productivity of the country. Right. And I feel like if you took that out of the equation, there would be so much progress in the country. And
I agree.
At least in our cities. Yeah. But that was just something that was really like on my mind the whole time when I was in either Dredwa or Harar. Like when they were talking about the culture, I knew that it was a thing, but I didn't know to what extent.
But you know what? I feel like the people there, like whether it's the government or whatever, whoever's selling it, like I don't think you guys realize how much money Jats brings.
Yeah, it makes a lot of money.
It's like a multi-million-dollar organization.
Multi-billion-dollar. I mean, even trillions.
You think so? Actually,
okay, not trillions, but billions at least.
Yeah, and so it's sort of like, you know, as long as it's bringing in the money, they don't care what happens to you guys. It's very unfortunate, and I think it'll take a lot of self-control to really wake people up. And it's especially sad when you see like younger guys doing it. Like our dads, I kind of feel like, you know, we just like accepted that it is what it is. Yeah. But to see someone like our age, it's kind of like, really? Like that's what you're doing with your life? Yeah. Like, no judgment, but like, come on, you're still young. Like work while you can.
Like I don't care if people are doing here because it's such like so hard to even access to begin with. That's not like it's done every day.
I was just gonna say the ones who do it here, it doesn't necessarily impede on their ability to work because they can't do it every day. It's like you can't live a life here in Canada or America or whatever doing that. But back home, I feel like it's so known that like if you have a shop, everyone knows like after the hood, like peace out. Yeah. Good luck if you find someone with their shop open.
Yeah, and that was just really disheartening. I was like, this really needs to be addressed and like taken care of because there's a lot that could be worked on or like that needs improvement, but people are kind of wasting their money and time doing the budgets and stuff, and it's just sucking the soul and the life. I feel like it was sucking the soul and the life out of the cities.
I have a question for you. If our parents never left Ethiopia and we like grew up in Harar, did you ever like while we were there, did you ever think like, what would I be like if I grew up here?
I'd probably be a lot more. I'd be like my dad essentially, because he was very.
Think so though?
He was like very like he's exactly like he was now, like on the move constantly.
No, but he's like that because a lot of his life was here. He even said it himself. Like if I grew up in Harar, like God knows where I would have ended up.
Oh, if I grew up in Harar, okay. I thought you meant like was with him the whole time, going to Addis and all these.
No. I mean like while we were there on our trip. Like, did you ever think like, what if I grew up here? What would I be like?
Oh yeah, I'd probably be just like them.
Imagine.
Yeah. Well, like I guess it's hard to even say like a lot of things would happen, right? But I probably would be very similar to them, even in a very worse situation. Depends on
We're 29 now, so we probably both would have been like married to somebody.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would have had like 5 kids by now already.
It's so crazy to think like, wow, our lives would have been so different, or like even like I think we answered this one time in a Q&A, like if we didn't grow up together, like what would like Amir would have been like my cousin from back home.
Yeah,
that's so weird to imagine.
I wouldn't look like this, I don't think. Because one thing I've noticed,
you'd either be fatter or skinnier. There's no.
I would be a lot darker for sure. Yeah.
You
look, because like even just like I think it was one of the greatest examples of this. Like I saw a cousin, not uncle, when he first came to Canada. Like he was in Ethiopia, the one you met in Edmonton.
Oh
yeah. So I had an uncle when he came here. He was like dark, like
that's why I didn't recognize him, because he was light skinned when I saw him. I was like, huh?
The reason I say is because like he was super like dark, and then after you showed me a photo of him recently, he was completely different, like super light skinned.
Yeah.
So I know I wouldn't look anything like this. I would be a completely different person. That's why it's even hard to imagine.
Do you guys think we tanned, by the way? Like I think we did.
Definitely tanned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even dress while I'm wearing this, you know?
Oh yeah.
No, we just bought this like on the streets of Addis.
Yeah.
And we thought, you know, why not culturally appropriate our own culture for a second?
Don't do that.
Hey, because it's not Harari technically, okay? I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's not, but...
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to take a quick break here. We're just doing this because sometimes the video messes up, so I got to stop it. But like, I'll be back here in a second. Exactly.
Can we fade into the grass like Homer? Just
what?
You know the Homer, the GIF? Where he
GIF?
just like... I said GIF because you say GIF, and now you're saying GIF because I say GIF?
I'm just saying mess with you.
I know. Anyways, we're going to fade into the background. You
okay.
Fade.
Okay, we're back. So yeah, that was I didn't want to end it on like a negative note, but like in totality, what?
I finally figured out what the things are called.
Oh, from the photos there?
Yeah.
What are they called?
So, okay, side note, I don't know if you can edit this back, but
okay, so when I was talking about those 4 pots, is it 4 pots?
There are 3, sometimes 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4 pots, which are set somewhere on like the left side of the house or the right side of the house, to indicate like different things that you would collect in the house.
Yeah,
so you can mention that.
He was talking about if the mot that sits on top of it, if it's upside down or the right side up, that signifies whether the man of the house has passed away or is living. Mm-hmm. It's the correct term is aflala. See?
Are you sure that's
right? Yeah, look, 8.
It doesn't sound right. Aflala.
Okay. I remember seeing that on the thing. I just couldn't remember.
Okay, what it was called. But essentially that's what those were. What they're called.
Yeah.
Does it tell you exactly what each one represents?
I remember the first one is for the
money.
The money for the wife.
Yeah.
So that's usually where she keeps her money, jewelry,
finances.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Things like that. The second one, Hassan really had a photo, and I'm trying to see if I can remember it.
I know that one of them was for like important documents.
That might have been the last one.
Okay.
I know that the second one I can't remember, but one of them's also for like herbal medicine. Mm-hmm. Like just seeds.
Yeah, essentially they're like things that you use to collect. Like there's certain things you need in the house.
Maybe I'll see if Hassan saved that
exactly.
post, and we'll like put it up here.
Okay, but yeah, so Harar in general was just, it was a nice experience. That was just a one kind of like negative takeaway I had from it. There were a couple other things, but like not big enough to mention. But I definitely want to go back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So like that's definitely a thing that we have to do, and soon rather than later. Like it was the last time I've been to Ethiopia. Like I don't know if I mentioned that last time was like 11 years ago, and for you it was like 5 years ago, right? Or
2016.
16. So that's
5.5.
Yeah, 5.5 years ago. So we definitely can't make that a thing. You gotta visit more. If you haven't been there already, make sure you go. It'll give you a deeper connection with your roots, and even if you're not from there, like it's hard to tell someone who's not from there to go there, but I feel like you would still enjoy the experience, especially if you have a good guide there. And especially if you're Muslim. If you're Muslim, then I feel like that's like a big plus, because there's a lot of Islamic history there too that you can learn and benefit from.
Yeah.
So then we left Harar after a couple days, went back to Duredwa, where our ummah is, our grandma, and the whole family there. And then I think we spent there for we were there for maybe one more day, and then we went to Addis.
Were we there for only one more day?
I think so, yeah.
It's like 2 days, 1 night, technically.
After we came back?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It didn't feel that long.
It was like we got back earlier that day. We spent all day there, and then no, we were there for 2 days. 2 more days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we did that. And then we went we went to Addis, which we haven't been to yet by plane. And Addis is like a whole story in itself. Like there's so many things we did there. Like we did so many things that's kind of a blur at this point.
Yeah.
So is there anything you wanted to mention about Addis first?
Addis or Deredoa?
Addis, because we already talked about Deredoa.
Yeah, I mean, we did kind of cover it. Addis, I think I also spent a lot of time there before too. So for me, going back, it was like I was very surprised at how much the city has changed over the last couple of years. Aside from that, what else can we get into?
Well, like I want to expand on that because Addis, when I remember it from 11 years ago, like I remember dirt streets. I remember like
dirt streets. Really?
Yeah. Okay. Not maybe there's paved roads, but like dirt. It was more like it was less developed than what I remember. Like I don't remember skyscrapers.
Yeah.
I don't remember like the square. There's a large square in Addis.
Square.
Yeah, Mercato Square. I don't remember that being developed at all.
Yeah.
But when we got there, it was almost like at least for the first 15, 20 minutes that you're driving to the city away from the airport, it looks like you're in a modern city.
Yeah.
Like everything looks modern.
City.
Exactly. And like it's weird because like everyone there is black. Like it's weird when you see like the white person's like the minority and you're like staring at them. Like, it's hey, like, what are you doing here? Exactly. Or like you see a couple like Asian people there. But yeah, it looked like a different world to me. Like I was not expecting Addis to look like that at all. There's skyscrapers everywhere. It looked clean on the streets. But as of course you start like driving further and further away from the airport, when you get like into more of the actual little boroughs, I guess you can call them, or like parts of the city, then you start to see like, okay, this is the Addis I remember. Yeah. Where of course the streets maybe look a little bit cleaner when it comes to paving, but it's still like a lot of dirt on the sides. Like you got the little huts or houses made out of like metal.
Yeah, so like, a lot of them,
like makeshift houses. You have to kind of go into the neighborhoods to see them.
Cobblestone roads.
Yeah, the cobblestone roads, the ones that would break your neck because when you're driving over them, like you're constantly bouncing back and forth.
Yep.
But that was like definitely a shock to me when I first got there. It's like I don't remember this looking like this at all.
Yeah.
And when we got to our family's house there, that one was exactly as I remember it.
Like, I know it always brings back so many
exactly
memories.
Right, because like it almost like from 11 years ago to now, it's almost like nothing had changed there, which is kind of comforting in a way because it was at least there's something that you remembered when you first got there, because everything else looks so different. Even the neighborhood somewhat looked a little bit the same.
Well, they opened up the bar. That bar never, like someone else used to like. There
was
a
really?
house there, yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was like, oh, there's a bar here now.
Yeah, but that was definitely like a shock when you first got there. But at this, like, let's not only talk about like the city, but like the driving there is also on another level. Like I remember it being pretty crazy when I was last there. Yeah. Even though I say it's 11 years ago, like I still remember a lot from my trip there. Yeah. But like I don't remember it ever being this crazy.
It wasn't.
Where like there are no rules. When you're driving in Addis, there are no rules on the road.
They got better now.
What do you mean they got better now?
From what I remember, like in 2012 and 2016.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Was it worse then?
Yes. Literally, yes. You know, our cousin, he's probably listening to this. I don't want to put him on blast.
Yeah. No, just say it into the mic, man.
Okay, Adil, if you're listening to this. He literally used to like hang out the side of his car.
Really?
As we were driving through the streets just to like yell at people. Because like everybody, like, I remember there was a time where people would be honking and he would just honk back. I'm like, why are you honking? He's like, just because.
Yeah, because people too. Out there will just honk constantly. Yeah. It's always and
you have like no patience.
But honestly, you kind of have to honk at some point because like cars are literally inches away from touching each other at all times. Yeah, at all times. Like it's
crazy.
There are lanes in the road, but they're not really like defined by like those little dots or whatever. So you kind of make your own lane. Like it could be a 3-lane road, but there will be 4 cars next to each other. And like they're constantly like one's like going in front of the other and the other one's going in front of the other. There's no rules at all. And in Addis,
but somehow like it works. Like we saw one accident.
Yeah. And that was a pretty bad accident too from the back. But and that was like out in the like more outside of the city from what I remember. I don't think it wasn't like in the super busy area.
No.
Yeah, but the roundabouts in Addis are like the most scariest because in like Canada or North America or anywhere else in the world, honestly, like when there's a roundabout, you yield, you get into it, and then you like drive out or whatever. But like in this one, you kind of just start driving into the roundabout.
Just say Bismillah.
Yeah, exactly. And just hope that no one hits you coming from the side. And one thing I noticed is that usually if you want to like, let's say you want to exit the roundabout, you'll go on the outside lane. People will literally go from the inside lane of the roundabout to the outside lane and just drive across traffic just so they can exit. And like, I don't know how it kind of works. Like you mentioned, it's just like everything kind of flows still.
But you forgot the main thing.
What?
The traffic is not just cars in Addis, okay?
Oh, yeah.
It's literally people and animals too. Everybody shares the road.
That's the one thing we couldn't get wrap our heads around is that when people cross the street, they don't look. They literally just start walking and just and they know that the cars are gonna go around them.
Yeah,
like
or
people
slow down or
they
something.
there are some people who like hesitate and stuff, and that actually makes it worse for some reason.
Yeah.
But for the most part, people will literally look to their right, and the cars are coming from their left, but they'll continue looking through their right and start crossing the street. Not even look at you. They won't even know that you were there.
Yeah.
And they'll cross the street, they'll get and act like nothing happened while you're like almost hitting a car right next to you. And this is a constant thing. It's not like it happens every once in a while. This is constantly as you're driving.
Yeah.
And we did it ourselves too.
Oh my God. We had to talk about our experience. When Amir and I decided to walk from Mercato back to my aunt's house.
Yeah. Mercato is like a major market. Is Mercato literally, I think it translates to market.
Yeah.
But it's a major market area where a lot of trading goes on.
Think of like if you've ever been to like Istanbul, if you've ever been to the Grand Bazaar there, think of that, but like in Africa and like 10 times.
Is there any
bigger.
place in like North America like that people can relate to?
If you're in LA, maybe the farmers market, but like on a grander scale.
Just think of like an area with a lot of business
like,
going on at the same time.
When we say you can literally buy anything, we literally mean anything.
Yeah, there's thousands of stores in this place.
Food, mattresses, clothes,
goats,
cooking utensils, furniture, like anything you could think of.
It'll
husbands.
Yeah, maybe you can.
Do you remember that guy? What he said?
No. Oh yeah. There's a guy who literally just walked up to you guys like they're talking you guys up and they're like, "Are you married? Do you want a husband?" It's like, what? Because
he thought your dad like didn't speak Amharic, right? So he was asking him like, "Do you speak Amharic?" And your dad was like, "Yeah, I'm from here. I'm just their tour guide." And then he was like, "Oh, okay. Where are they from?" Because that day, we were all wearing masks, and I think I was wearing an abaya, but for some reason, people thought we were from like Sudan or something. So he's like, "Oh, are they from Sudan?" He's like, "No, they're literally from Ethiopia. Like they're Harari. They're Ethiopian." And then he was like, "Oh." And then he looks at Aisha and he's like, "Are you married?" She's like, "No." And then he looks at me, "Are you married?" And we're like, "No." He's like, and then he asked us in Amharic, like, "Do you want a husband?" And then your dad was like, "They don't understand you." So then he looks at her, he's like, do you want a husband? In English. And then we start laughing and we're like, "No." And then your dad was like, "See, I told you could buy anything you want here." It's an interesting place. To say the least. Mercato was a crazy like experience. It was kind of cool. Yeah, it was really cool. Like just that experience alone where people are like stacked on top of each other everywhere. You know what was really cool was seeing those guys who would carry like boxes or like these big huge things on their heads. I'm like, how? They're carrying hundreds of pounds on top of their head. How is your spine still connected? Yeah, I don't know how. Like even me, someone who works out, I was like, I probably couldn't do that. I don't have that level of balance or anything. Yeah. And these are like skinny guys doing this. Yeah. Oh shit, the wind's blowing in. One second. It is cold. Dang. There we go. Okay.
But yeah, so we were talking about how we had to go from Mercato to our aunt's house, which is about like maybe, if there wasn't any traffic, maybe like a 10-minute walk.
Yeah, but it took longer than that.
Yeah.
It was so hot. Like can I just tell you, when we were walking through Mercato, although there was like a nice breeze, the sun, first of all, was burning me. Mm-hmm. And second, I was sweating, like profusely sweating, because I had so much anxiety walking through this street with like hundreds of people. And like we were warned to watch our stuff. Like, don't have your phone out. Don't like just leave your purse behind. Like, keep it in front. And I was just like nervous the whole time that I was sweating so much. Like, until we got back to my aunt's house. Yeah. And we sat down and we were like, finally. That's when I stopped sweating. But the whole time I was like extremely like on alert and just very anxious. Like, did you feel like that too?
We were skipping the point of the story. Oh, the crazy streets.
Well, I was going to let you talk about that.
Oh, okay. But what was your question then?
Like, if you felt super anxious too, or were you?
Oh no, I felt perfectly fine.
Really?
Yeah, I was more anxious for the reason that we had to go back home. Yeah, so I don't know if you know this, but when you go to any country, I guess you could say third world country, like the water there is
not just third. Even the like a lot of Arab countries that I've been to, they have those types of toilets.
Any country outside of the country you normally live in, like there's going to be a difference in like the food. And how your body reacts to it. So like you have to do the utmost of like avoiding anything that might have interacted with the water of that country. But we might not be the best at that at all times. So I believe I don't think I had to go at that time. I think I was just taking you back or something. Oh no, I did have to go. Yeah,
you did.
So of course we all got sick, which requires you to go to the washroom multiple times during the day. And when I don't know why we thought today, after we were both feeling not the best, to go to a place by walking, and like spending most of our day there, walking around in the sun, letting everything just like churn in our stomachs,
bubble up. Yeah,
to the point where we were like, okay, guys, we can't do this anymore. We have to go back.
Well, your dad did take us to that one store that had the bathroom.
Oh yeah, and I walked into the bathroom. I was like, "Does it flush?" And they're like, "You think toilets flush out here?" Like she literally said that in our language. She's like, think toilets flush out here? What are you talking about?
So funny.
But we both tried to use it. We found out that we're not going to be using that toilet.
Yeah.
So we kind of said to my sister and my dad, like, yo, we got to split up. I remember the way back, we'll walk back.
Yeah.
And that's when we made our journey back to the house. And that was like an experience in itself.
Oh my God.
Especially when we got to the part where we had to cross a major intersection.
Yeah.
And like this is like in those movies, those like Disney animated movies where like the characters are always trying to like cross the street and like the cars are like buzzing here and there and they're like dodging different things. That's exactly what happened with us. Like we literally, I was like, you know what? We just got to do it.
I was dodging donkeys, people, cars.
Like to the point where I was like, Sarah, we just got to like walk.
Yeah.
And like cars are coming from all directions and we're just like making sure to just go on our path. Yeah. They'll go around us and cars are getting like inches away from you. There's at one point where like Sarah's had to stop a car.
And I was like, yeah, like, literally I feel like I was screaming when we were crossing.
Yeah, you were like grabbing me on my arm, screaming, like telling these cars to stop.
Yeah, because they don't stop. They just kind of slow. It's like a rolling stop, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because they know that they can't hit you, but at least they're trying to...
Listen, okay, they were getting close to my toes.
But they know what they're doing. You know, they know their space. That's the thing. Like Ethiopian drivers, they know how much space they have for the most part. Okay? But that crossing that intersection was like being in a movie. It felt like being in a movie.
I did not like that.
And it's not... I'm not talking about like a small intersection you would see in North America. This is like an intersection... Are you yawning against something?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
It was an intersection and a roundabout, actually, right?
No, it was just an intersection, which made it worse because it was just open land of just cars coming from all directions.
Oh my God.
But that was probably the crazy experience while we were in Addis when it comes to... Because we didn't... For the most part, we weren't walking on the streets of Addis. Like, we were always in a car going from spot to spot. That was the first time where we had the experience of actually walking with the people. And, like, out there, COVID is not really a thing. So, like, people are on top of each other. There's no mask at all.
Nope.
And this is, like, a couple days before we're leaving. So, we're all scared that we might be, like, susceptible to it. So, we're all, like, wearing masks. And everybody's looking at you different. Mostly because they can smell that you're not from there.
And they could see it. Like, I thought I was blending in wearing an abaya. But
nah, they know right away.
They knew.
Yeah, like, you'll hear people in the background going, diaspora. Because that's what they call people from... who are visiting or coming back to the country to visit. They call them diaspora. And yeah, that was just a crazy experience in a way. Thankfully, we made it back to the house.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah. Sarah, the one thing you should never do.
Listen,
in Addis.
Let me.
I gotta call it out for this. I gotta call it out for this.
I didn't ask him for help. He asked me.
Let me first tell him what happened, okay?
Fine. Go ahead.
We were walking to the house, and we accidentally walked into like the wrong alley to the house. And I knew that we were in the wrong one. I was going to turn around. But Sarah had the genius idea of asking someone, oh, are we in the right area? Which is the last thing to do.
I didn't say, are we in the right area? We got up there, okay? So like, the steps looked exactly like the other one though. So that's why I was like, is this the right one?
Yeah.
Looks a little different. So me and Amir are talking to each other, and this older man comes towards us, and he's asking me in Amharic, like, do you need help? And I was like, no. Then I was like, wait, do you speak English? And he's like, yeah. And then Amir's like, Sarah, stop.
I was like, just say no and walk away.
And then Amir was like, no, we don't need your help. And he's like, I think the guy felt like slightly offended because he was nice. He just kept talking. So he was like, I am coming to you with respect because it is respect.
He was nice, okay?
And then Amir was like not having any of it.
Yeah, I was trying to tell him, I was like, I don't need your help, sir. I know where I'm going because... Okay, continue.
So the man is just trying to like tell us where we're going. Amir's like, I already know we're in the wrong spot. I know. And he's like giving Amir this lecture about respect and how he's trying to help him. And he's like, what's like the area? And I was like, no, we know that we're in the wrong spot. I know it's the next one. And then as he's talking to Amir, honestly, I don't know what he said too because he zoned out. And I started looking around, and all the people around us,
exactly,
they're just like, you know, the dad stance with their hand on their hip.
That's why.
And they're looking at us like, oh, diaspora, like, where are they going? We're trying to, and like, I think they were intrigued that this old man spoke English so well and he was speaking to us, because after we were done talking to him, did you remember hearing those guys saying like, sorry, we didn't know, like, we couldn't speak or something? They said something like that.
Oh, okay.
But I thought it was funny, so.
No, but the reason you don't want to like let people know that you're diaspora or diaspora.
They can see it, honestly.
I know they can see it, but at least they don't know 100%. Or like when you start speaking English around them, because you make sure that one thing you want to make sure out there is that we at least speak our city's language. So you're not speaking English out there, because one like negative thing is that people will try and take advantage of that, and they'll try and find out how they can make money from it, or they'll maybe try and rob you. I don't know. And it was in the daytime, so I don't think anything would have happened to us.
Yeah, I don't think they would have done anything either.
But people will follow you to wherever you're going to try and make some money, because that's the one thing out there is that if you're leaving the house in Addis or anywhere in Ethiopia, just get ready to like be giving out money at all times. Yeah, because even if you're just like, if you have a bag on you and you're about to walk into the house, someone will try and grab the bag from you just so they can help you bring it into the house, so you can give them like some money.
That's so true.
And that's what I was trying to avoid, because like you never know who's gonna follow you. You never know what they're gonna do. Like, I hate it when people know that we're diaspora, because you can see in their face like, oh, this is where money is, right? And I don't want that to be in that situation. So I was like, let's get out of this quick. We like ran back to the house. We knew where it was. Yeah. I was speaking to you in Gaysinan the whole time, cursing you out in Gaysinan.
I just have to say, guys, Amir's Gaysinan we should have done our intro in Gaysinan.
No. I don't even know how to do intro in Gaysinan.
Yeah, you do. Remember we asked your dad?
What is it?
To say it. We were like, how do you say welcome back?
There is no welcome back in Gaysinan.
Yeah, you just say like, Hambele
Dichru.
That means, yeah, I guess that kind of means welcome. It's like
but
thank
it
God
doesn't,
you came.
yeah, but it doesn't like sound right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, whatever. Anyways, Amir's Gaysinan has improved so much. I'm so proud of you.
No.
Good job, Amir.
It was okay.
Good job. What?
Oh, shoot.
What kind of...
I don't know. Okay. It felt awkward. I was like, do I go this way? But yeah, that was an experience we had in Addis. What else was there about Addis?
So like, we were on a hunt for Fanta Apple. Couldn't find it.
Constantly trying to look, because I think Gizman started it, where she's like, remember Fanta Apple, guys? Yeah. Like how good it was compared to like the Fanta Orange. She talked about it
so much that we like wanted. Like the Fanta Orange was really good too.
Yeah, it is.
And then we got Mirinda Apple in Deredoa, so we were like on a mission to find it in Addis, and we couldn't find it.
Yeah, that was like a side quest in the whole experience, but we finally found Mirinda Apple, and literally the store like right across the street from our aunt's house the whole time.
I would have had one every day.
Yeah, but yeah, and also, what happened?
A little fluff.
Okay. what else about? Addis was like we went to a couple resorts there.
Oh yeah.
Like a place called Kuriftu, which was really nice.
Well, Kuriftu is the brand. The city that you went to was Debrecen.
Debrecen?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, we went to Kuriftu.
Kuriftu is like, you know how like
Sheraton.
Yeah, sort of like the brand.
Okay, yeah. Well, we went to the one in the Debrecen region.
There you go.
Which was really unfortunately you weren't with us on that one. I believe
no, I did visit that one like when I went 5 years ago.
Yeah, so you already had the experience.
Yeah.
And Gizman posted about it and everything, and the place was really nice. Like we got to go canoeing on the lake over there, and like the breakfast was really nice. And ironically, but the funny thing is that when we were checking out the next day, because Gizman was posting about it, the Kuriftu brand, I guess, saw it.
Yeah.
And they ended up giving us a different place, or a couple nights stay, or one night stay in another place called Kuriftu in Toto, which is like it's kind of like a park built on top of a mountain, right? In the middle of Addis. Yeah. And that was also like a really cool experience because it was like a tent. Because the one in Kuriftu Debrecen or whatever was it was almost like a house, but it had like an outside area of the house and the inside of it where the bedroom was. But the Intoto place was like just a tent in itself, but it was a really nice tent. It was almost like a house made out of tent. And that was really nice. I had like a little swing on it. We got to go zip lining there. We got to go. Oh, you didn't? Oh, yeah, you guys didn't do it.
I was way too scared. I don't trust
Honestly, ziplining is not as scary as you think. Like, you don't even feel anything when you're going on it.
It was just the fact that, like, it was in Africa, you know?
What? You don't trust them?
No. Literally no.
Well, yeah, it did feel a little, like, looser.
Exactly.
Than normal. Yeah. Like, I wasn't as free as I was in the one that I did in BC. But it was still fun. We got to go go-karting, or you guys got to go go-karting.
Oh, that was really fun. Yeah, well, that was scary, actually.
Really? Why?
Yeah, because, like, so it starts... Like they start the car how you start a lawnmower.
That's how they all start. I'm telling you.
I don't remember that in the other ones, but anyways, they make you like really step on the gas to the point where as soon as it starts, you like zoom.
Yeah.
And then when you're turning, like the steering wheel is so stiff that like if you don't brake, you're literally gonna like crash into something.
Which someone did.
Yeah, someone did crash. But I was screaming the whole time when I was driving that thing.
Yeah,
so.
But I was really like taken aback by like how good I feel like it is really like sounds very privileged to say like I wasn't expecting it to be so nice at these resorts amenities, but it makes sense. There's a lot of tourism that goes on in the country now, right?
It was like a glamping, like it was like a big tent.
Yeah. And that's one thing that changed a lot, even for the Ethiopians or the people who do live in that city, is that with the new government, they started building a lot more parks in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting focus, but...
Yeah, it's kind of weird that they kind of went to parks. Like, there's a lot more that could be improved on.
Maybe they're trying to do that to boost the tourism.
Yeah, and also just maybe give the people somewhere to go within the city.
Yeah, but I think there are a lot of other more pressing issues, like the literal roads. Like, a lot of the roads are not actually paved because Addis is a constant developing city. There are so many homes that are being built now, like on the borders of the city, and when you get off the main highway, you're basically driving on a dirt road, and I don't know how the cars survive there, to be honest.
No, but that was kind of frustrating because like the parks that I just talked about, like in Toto, and there's a place called Unity Park in the city and Friendship Park in the city. They built those, from what I was told, like within less than 2 years.
Yeah.
Which shows that the country or the people there are able to build these things very, very quickly. But then you see all these like roads that my dad even said may take them 3 years to finish a road. Yeah. And it'll just be a dirt road, and there's no like real organization to how they would navigate the traffic around it. So they literally just make the traffic go over these rocky roads and that will destroy any car after a while. Like, you remember there's that one van where the back door of it was kind of like swinging back and forth because of the aggressiveness of all the rocks. Like,
oh my god, no, I don't remember that.
Okay, well, there's a van where the back, you know how they have like the back trunk door or whatever? It was literally like shifting from side to side from the like sheer velocity of the shaking of the floor or the driving.
Yeah.
But that was just kind of frustrating how long the construction takes when you know that they can do it faster. And of course he said that was all just due to corruption, which was kind of like there's a lot of good that came out of Addis. Like I really loved it. The people there, the family there, the experiences we had there. Mm-hmm. But then, of course, my dad's always pointing out like the corruption that goes on.
Yeah.
Like how I mentioned that there's a lot of people who are looking to get money from you, but it's not only the people, it's like even the officials there, like police.
Oh, you mean like how easily bribed?
Yeah, everyone can be bribed there. Like corruption still, of course, is a developing country.
Everywhere, to be honest.
There's corruption everywhere, but it's more overt there, where you're literally like giving money to officials.
Yeah.
So for them to kind of look the other way.
Yeah.
But that was kind of frustrating. There's still a lot. There's definitely a lot for the city to do. Like there's still a lot of development that needs to be made in the country. It makes sense why they would call it a developing country.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long it's gonna take. Like it's something like I don't see happening in the next few years. I don't even know if I see it happening in the next 10 years.
I mean, never say never. We'll see what happens with it. But I think it's one, it's dependent on the leadership. Mm-hmm. But two, it's also dependent on the people. Yeah. So if the people, do you sometimes...
do you think it's the leadership that affects the mindset of the people, or the people who affect the mindset of the government? Like which one affects the other? I feel like it's the leaders that are affecting the mindset of the people, which is why everybody in the country, their goal is really just to make money or like to find that next buck.
I think it depends because I think Ethiopia was like, the people of Ethiopia were like, life was like it was lived in a certain way for such a long time, that maybe some people are a little bit more resistant to change. So when you throw a new person in power and they have a more progressive mindset, for example, and they want to do big things, people might see that as a threat, like, oh, they're trying to change tradition, or they're trying to change this or that, you know what I mean? So I think if leadership, if the government and the people of the nation are all on the same page, and conflict gets reduced a bit, then Ethiopia as a whole is destined for great things. It's one of the fastest growing economies in Africa, if not the fastest, I think.
But I guess the thing that they kind of have to get over is a whole like tribal.
It's very tribalistic there.
Tribal aspect, like the tribal conflicts that are going on. I feel like that's really the biggest thing holding back the whole country. Like, remember there was this as if you're driving through Addis, there's a certain part of Addis or a corner of Addis where there's literally thousands of empty units and apartments
I remember
that are not
too.
Being used. And we drove past it so many times. My dad told us like 50 times as we were driving past.
He did.
Where thousands of the units are not being used, and there's a housing shortage or housing issue in Ethiopia for sure. Like there are a lot of people looking for places to go, but it's too expensive.
Yeah,
and you have thousands of these units not being used because of corruption issues within the government, where like one tribe wants to give the houses or the apartments to their people, the other tribe wants to give it to their people, and they can't come to like some type of agreement, so they just sit there. And he said they've been sitting there for years, like 5 years, with no one living in them. Thousands. When I say thousands, like I'll put up a video.
Multiple apartment complexes.
Yeah, like literal cities empty of people.
Pretty sad.
Yeah, that was probably the saddest part. And we drove past it so many times that was like the one thing that just being kept in mind. Like after seeing all these good things, you're realizing how much work still needs to be done. Yeah. Which is why we were kind of frustrated when you see like these parks being developed and you're like, come on guys, we have like bigger issues to deal with.
Exactly.
But it's like you also have to be like, it is important to have those parks too. So it's like, but like priorities essentially, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was very interesting. And actually I have one thing I want to bring in. 1 second. Okay, I'm back here. So now I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything before we end off here. I know I always want to cover like the positive first, and then kind of go into like the things that I wish would be improved on. And we kind of covered this a bit, but there's kind of like an underbelly to Ethiopia. And I realized that when we were talking about the leader, like who affects who, I feel like the leaders have, because of all the corruption, is kind of created like a culture where everyone's kind of trying to take advantage of each other. Yeah. Like to the point where one funny experience, or not funny experience, but one experience that we had was we were driving outside of the city. We stopped at a gas station.
Oh yeah.
And we thought like everybody was being friendly. We were talking to guys. They were talking to us. They were being friendly with us. And as we were driving away, my dad was like really pissed at something. We're like, why? He's like, the guy charged me like 1,200 birr when it's really supposed to be 800 birr. But I guess they were talking us up and distracting me from seeing the price. So they added the price from the previous tank.
Yeah.
And that's how people, they like try and get one up on you. And it's like, even though like it shows that like they can be friendly to you, have a smile on their face, but they'll still take advantage of you. And that was a big issue that I noticed, where people are always trying to get a leg up on someone else so they can make some more money. And it's not really their fault.
Yeah.
It's because there's they've created, the government or the leadership has created such an environment where people are desperate to find the next buck, because there's no real organization set up to help the people who might need it in the country.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Cost of living is just so high, and there's no real livable wage there. Like the wage gap between the rich and the poor, it's like insane.
Yeah,
like,
we were even trying to break it down, like how much people make per month. I think like we found out that an apartment may cost like 30,000 birr or 20,000 birr a month, but the average wage is like 2,000 birr a month,
which is like, how do you even afford, like,
exactly, how do you
makes
afford
no sense.
Yeah, it's forcing people to live on top of each other, literally, like where you have 12 people living in like a 1-bedroom apartment, trying to make ends meet. It did kind of build like more of a communal vibe, when it means that like you're not exactly going to be always eating at your own place. You're kind of like eating at different places, because no one can really afford to
rent and groceries.
Rent and get groceries all on their own. So they kind of have to bounce around. That's why a lot of people have a lot of friends, because they're going to kind of all need to help each other. So that's kind of one positive aspect of it. But still, it did create a culture where everybody's kind of looking for that next buck, trying to make a little bit extra money, because the cost of living in Ethiopia is so high. Yeah. And that was like really disheartening to see and hear about when we were there, and realize that they do have the resources to be able to fix this, but they're just not doing it because of those corruption issues and conflicts going on within the government. Right. And I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for things, but honestly, I don't care.
You say that now.
Yeah. And one thing that you guys really were annoyed by or disgusted by in city was like the animal abuse that goes on.
I'm already over it. Like, I'm not over it, but like that was something that really affected me. The last time I went in 2016, I was there for 8 weeks. So I really saw it firsthand. You know what I mean? And I remember being so bothered by it. I remember this one time.
The horses, right?
There's that too. Yeah. We'll get to that one. But there's this one time where I was going somewhere with my cousins, and I saw this man like tied up his horse. It was like tied to a carriage, and it was like kind of foaming at the mouth because there was this like metal bar that he uses to strap onto him or whatever. And I was so heartbroken that I was like, oh my God, I have to go talk to him. Like, he has to release this horse. Like, me trying to be some sort of like savior. And so I'm like telling my cousins, like, translate for me. They're like, no, like, unless you're prepared to buy that horse from him, like, he's not going to listen to you. Yeah. And I was like, no, it's just like animal cruelty. It's so unfair. Like, haram, like, how is he torturing the poor thing? And they looked at me and they're like, you're crying over a horse. What about all the poor people that you see on the street? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, so
I couldn't really say anything after that. They're like, what's better, a human being or an animal? And I was like, well, you don't have to make me choose. But yes, I know the life of a human being is important, but like, you don't have to torture the animal to the point where it's like what we witnessed this time around. That really broke the horse thing. Broke my heart, and you can kind of get into that because it's very sad.
No, but like, there's a certain area when you're riding through it. There's a certain area where there's a lot of horses. People who are using horses to kind of like pull their carts, and every once in a while we would see a horse just like in the middle of the road that had nothing on it, no gear or anything. It would just be standing there, and then of course my dad again would be like, you see why that horse is there? It's because it may have an injury, it may not be able to work anymore, so people would literally just abandon them in the middle of the street and let them stay there until they starve to death, essentially, and they're done.
Yeah, a lot of times they just stand there. They're like frozen, and it's so sad. It's very sad. Thinking of, I still have the image of the horse in my head.
And maybe he was exaggerating, because I feel like I've seen that horse again later, who's like eating, I don't know, bushes on the side of the street or something. We drove through that street a lot.
Yeah.
But that was also definitely just like something that really irked us while we were in Addis. And I feel like at the end of this, people would be like, so did you hate it or something? It's like, no, I still loved Ethiopia. And I still loved being there. I still want to go back. But there is, I want to, actually it made me want to be a part of the progression of the country in a way. That's why I was like, I want to go back, right?
Yeah.
And there are people who are doing that we know, who have gone back and are like adding to the culture and community in Ethiopia and improving on it. But I hope that improvement comes sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And that the people actually wake up and start making these better decisions, not for the now, but for the future.
For the future, exactly.
Because essentially right now, a lot of the culture is centered around what's happening right now. They don't think about tomorrow. They don't think about the future for their children. But I think that is slowly changing. I just hope that it changes faster than it already is changing.
Inshallah.
Exactly. Maybe we'll talk about Ethiopia more. It depends on what the reaction is to this. I don't know what the reaction is going to be.
If you guys have any, questions about what we spoke about, leave a comment for us below or send us a message on Instagram. You guys know the deal. You know how to reach us.
I want to mention some good spots that we went to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if you ever find yourself in Addis, I suggest you go to, there's a place called Del Mella, which is a restaurant we went to. That was a really good spot.
Shout out to Addis.
Yeah, shout out to Addis, who's someone that I mentioned who actually went out, who used to live here and went back to Ethiopia to open up a business there. He also has another spot called Mitmita. Unfortunately, we couldn't go there just due to time, but that's like a very traditional Ethiopian food place to go to. There's also a place called Five Loaves.
Oh, yeah.
Five Loaves is an Italian spot, and it's like it's authentic Italian spot.
It's really good.
In Addis, and it's like really good. Even the work that went into the architecture of the building and the interior was really like authentic. It really looked really nice. Those were a few good spots we went to. What other spots did we go to that were really nice? I mentioned in Toto, which is a really good park to go to. Friendship Park was okay. It was like just a park to walk around in.
Panda, the Chinese place.
Oh yeah, they have a spot downtown
really
called Panda, which was really nice. That's an authentic Chinese spot to go to. I know we're talking about like other types of food instead of Ethiopian food, but like you're already having Ethiopian food at home, right? So these are just like, if you're ever going there to visit, I feel like these are spots that you should take a look at. What else is there?
What's that place you wanted to go to but we didn't get to go?
Yoda Abyssinia? Yeah. That one, if you ever find yourself in Addis, unfortunately we couldn't go just due to time, but there's a place you can go to called Yoda Abyssinia, where essentially they have authentic Ethiopian food, but they also have cultural dances that go on there. And from the videos I saw, it looks really nice. So that would, maybe next time when we go there, we can go there and visit again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to mention those are really good spots, because that's essentially what you're doing when you go to Addis. Or at least we did.
Eating.
Yeah, we went to eat, or we were visiting people or running errands with our dad.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. But go ahead, you can close this thing out, and we'll let y'all get back to your business.
Okie dokie. Thank you so much. I don't know why I just broke it into an accent. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of the Cousin Connection podcast. Before you leave, don't forget to like this video, leave us a comment, and if you haven't already subscribed at this point, like, what you doing? Subscribe already, just do us a favor. Exactly. You want to hear from us again. So subscribe, hit the little bell notification. That'll tell you whenever we upload a new video on our channel. Be sure to subscribe, or I guess follow us on Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere where you can like find us on the podcast apps. Just search Cousin Connection Pod. And if you're also not following us on Instagram, be sure to follow us there. That's where we post most of our updates, and where we love to interact with you guys. So thank you again, and we will see you next week. Bye.